Hey, welcome back to Bandwagon fans. This is Jeff, and in my first review in a long time, and after a few unsuccessful attempts, I'll be talking about the latest horror thriller film from Focus Features, Come Play. At the end of the review, I'll give an update about this channel and the What podcast. I'll also be reviewing the movies Let Him Go and Freaky, with a few thoughts on the current state of the movie industry and the movie going experience in general in the midst of this pandemic. So look out for those videos as well. So, on to the movie. Come Play is a 2020 horror thriller released just in time for Halloween about a boy named Oliver, played by Ozzy Robertson, tormented by an ebook about a monster named Larry. Oliver is autistic and uses an app on his phone to speak for him, as he is also mute. Oliver's parents, played by Gillian Jacobs and John Gallagher Jr., are in the midst of a divorce, which further exacerbates Oliver's isolation. Come Play is written and directed by Jacob Chase and is based on his 2017 film short, Larry. The mythology of Larry is that he is an abomination that exists in a parallel dimension or world that can occasionally interact with our world through the screens of various media devices such as cell phones, tablets, or TVs. Larry is lonely, looking for a friend to join him in his dimension, and preys upon people that themselves are socially isolated. Larry introduces himself to his victims through a short story that appears on the media device, and he moves about in our world through electricity, except when he just comes out and moves around. The exact rules Larry follows are hard for us to follow, but that's minor compared to other issues this movie has. Two things come to mind right away. One is how ridiculous the premise is. It sounds like a joke from another movie making fun about stupid horror movies. Actually, it is just that. This was a joke in Forgetting Sarah Marshall, with Russell Brand ripping on Kristen Bell for being in a movie about a killer cell phone. Second thing is that Come Play is pretty much digital Babadook. It has most of the elements of the Babadook, which I'll get into shortly, but without any of the ambiguity. There are some good parts of the movie. The first 30 minutes of the film, especially the introduction to Larry, are genuinely creepy and had my anxiety flaring. Exactly what I want in a thriller. His introduction through the cell phone was corny from the start, but it did create an interesting opportunity for playing hide and seek with the monster, which was kind of inventive and cool. I was willing to overlook the weakness of the premise at first because the movie was delivering on the scares for the first half hour or so. There was also a commentary running through the movie about the dangers of social isolation, the need for real human interaction, and something about parenting that was riffing off the Babadook but didn't quite have the insight that earlier film had. Ultimately, this movie became a victim to its own premise. The premise of a monster in your cell phone preying on the friendless is a little too transparent, but could have been a useful setup of a more interesting story. However, the story gets sidelined as the premise requires more and more explanation and the rules become more and more arbitrary. This is evidenced in how the movie ended, focusing on the technical problem of the premise rather than the thematic problem created by the story. Now, here's a major spoiler for their ending. If you haven't seen the movie yet and don't want the end ruined, skip ahead about 1 minute. Still with me? Cool. So it's established early on that Larry needs to take his victim's hand to be his friend in his world. That's the technical problem posed by the premise. The thematic conflict is that Oliver is socially isolated with no friends and can't even look his mom in her eyes, which made him vulnerable to Larry in the first place. So how does the movie resolve the conflict? By Sarah, the mom, taking Larry's hand at the last moment, going into Larry's dimension and sparing Oliver. That was a technical solution, not a thematic solution, and personal sacrifice of a parent had fuck all to do with the rest of the movie. The obvious solution is that when Larry was finally able to get Oliver's hand, he would have been blocked because Sarah and Marty, the father, were already holding Oliver's hands and wouldn't let go. Oliver would be saved because he's with people that love him, resolving the thematic conflict rather than losing someone he loves to fulfill the stupid rules of the movie. Overall, 5 out of 10 for Come Play, largely forgettable, but with very few movies getting released right now, it was worth a trip to the theater. So as for this channel, we're expanding to focus more on live streams and content beyond See Movie, Talk About Movie. Every Friday night, me and Jason are getting together to talk about, well, right now we're talking about The Mandalorian. Really looking forward to talking about WandaVision when that comes out. We're followed by Jason and newcomer to the show, Cecil Smith, talking about wrestling, WWE, Impact, AEW, and some various other indie promotions. Really knowledgeable about wrestling, so these guys are worth a couple hours to check out. And then after that, we're going to follow up with Jason and Waylon and sometimes Cecil getting together for a game night. So they've been playing Unmatched for a few weeks, but we're going to start exploring some different games. Just, just chill out with a couple friends, enjoy the banter, and maybe learn about, some of these new tabletop games that are becoming really big right now. So if you're interested in any of this content and want to keep up with it and also keep up with my reviews, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and check out what we have going on. For those of you that have been following me, Renee, and Scott on the What the What podcast, there is some news there as well. Unfortunately, shortly into the pandemic, Scott was diagnosed with cancer and is still in treatment. Everyone that knows Scott loves him, and although a full recovery is unlikely, we hope that he has many more days with us and is able to enjoy them as much as possible. Renee and I will be starting season 3 soon. We actually just recorded the first episode. So look for season 3 in your favorite podcatcher soon, and please keep Scott and Anna in your thoughts as well. Most of us have adjusted to a pandemic lifestyle, at least somewhat, but people, normal everyday tragedies of life are still going on. It's just harder to deal with in this socially distanced world. So thanks for watching, and again, just keep Scott and Anna in your thoughts. Look for me and Renee on your favorite podcatcher. And as for me, you can catch me at BBW Fans on Twitter and Bandwagon Fans on Facebook. And of course, right here on YouTube. Get on the bandwagon.